The reign of the Rajapaksas is over. Gotabaya Rajapaksa will step down tomorrow, the president of Sri Lanka. And what a dramatic turn of events this has been. There was a time when there were more than 5 Rajapaksas in the Sri Lankan government. President, Prime Minister, cabinet ministers. The family took all the posts. Well, now there will be none. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has gone into hiding. His brothers are nowhere to be seen. What do you think they're up to? Trying to leave Sri Lanka. But they're not being allowed to. The men who rule the country are trying to sneak out and failing miserably. Today we received multiple reports. Gotabaya Rajapaksa is desperate to leave and he's tried various routes. First he tried to board a flight to Dubai, but the immigration officials stopped him. Then he reached out to the Americans for a safe passage to the US. That request was also rejected. There are also reports that Gotabaya Rajapaksa wanted to come to India. Colombo apparently made a request to New Delhi. It wanted permission for a Sri Lankan Air Force plane to land. That permission was reportedly denied. India, however, has said that it never received such a request from Sri Lanka. So that's Gotabaya's story so far. One of his brothers faced the same humiliation. Look at these images. This is Basil Rajapaksa, the brother of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. A few months back, he was the finance minister of Sri Lanka. Many blame him for driving Sri Lanka's economy off the cliff. And now when the country is in crisis, he wanted to leave. This is the reception he got at the airport. That was a passenger. The immigration officials did the rest. They stopped Basil Rajapaksa from leaving. Before him, they also stopped the president. The message is quite clear. There's a massive backlash against the Rajapaksas and they have nowhere to hide. Which is interesting because most stories do not take this course. It usually plays out something like this. The ruling class commits mistakes, the country suffers, but the rulers escape. They lead a life of luxury overseas. The Rajapaksas were perhaps hoping for the same. It's not happening, at least if the people have their way. Sri Lankans want them to be held accountable. Even government officials have joined the protest. They're making sure the Rajapaksas remain under pressure. So what's in store for them? That's what we'll discuss tonight. First, let's give you more details about what happened with Gotabaya Rajapaksa. There's a big mystery surrounding him. Nobody knows where he is at the moment. He left the presidential palace on Saturday, and he left well before the protesters stormed the complex. Those protesters, many of them, are still there. But there's no telling where Gotabaya Rajapaksa is. Where did he go after leaving the presidential palace? To the airport, apparently. A new report says he wanted to escape to Dubai. Now, as president, he enjoys immunity from arrest. But once he leaves office and he stops being president, which should be tomorrow, Gotabaya Rajapaksa can be detained, which explains why he may have wanted to leave the country before stepping down. And that too in style. Gotabaya and his wife went to the VIP suite of the airport, the Bandar Naike International Airport. It's the main international airport of Sri Lanka. Rajapaksa called the immigration officials to the VIP suite. He wanted his passport to be stamped there. He refused to stand in a queue for security checks for obvious reasons. He wanted to avoid being confronted by other passengers. Guess what happened next? The immigration officials rejected Rajapaksa's demand. They refused to go to the VIP suite. And let me remind you, Gotabaya Rajapaksa is still technically the president of Sri Lanka. He's yet to step down. But now he's facing an open rebellion. Sri Lankan immigration officers refused to follow his orders. They refused to let him leave. What happened next was even more humiliating. After being denied his VIP privileges, Rajapaksa left the airport. He and his wife went to a military base nearby. They spent the night there. It's safe to assume that Rajapaksa was still looking for a way to get out, but he failed again. He missed 4 flights that could have taken him to the UAE. He even reached out to the US for help. He applied for an American visa and sought a safe passage to the US. That's what reports say, but the American embassy in Colombo has refused. So Rajapaksa still remains stuck in Sri Lanka. This morning, his brother also tried to escape, Basil Rajapaksa. He wanted to leave to Dubai, for Dubai in fact. He was booked on an Emirates flight. Basil too wanted VIP treatment. Just like his brother, he went to the VIP departure lounge. And just like his brother, he failed to pull rank. The immigration officials refused to fast-track his case. They refused fast-track service to him. Reports say employees at the VIP lounge stopped servicing the guests at midnight, so Basil Rajapaksa did not get the red carpet welcome that he had perhaps hoped for. But he was desperate to leave. Apparently, he tried to check in through the normal passenger area. Some protesters spotted him. They shouted at him. An official at the airport has issued a statement, and I have that statement with me. This is what it says. There were some other passengers who protested against Basil boarding the flight. It was a tense situation, so he hurriedly left the airport. And this is incredible. Before this crisis, the Rajapaksas were the de facto rulers of Sri Lanka. The five brothers controlled 75% of the country's budget. No one dared to challenge them. And now they cannot even board a flight out of Sri Lanka. The Rajapaksas want to escape the wrath of the people, but they cannot avoid it anymore, it seems. They cannot hide anymore. The people of Sri Lanka have refused to settle for half measures. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.